I have a bit of a controversial question.
Oh, here we go.
On this week's episode, we welcome Baxter, an award-winning cinematographer who's worked from networks like ABC's Big Sky to Disney Plus's Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and having screenings at festivals like TIFF. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You hear the term a lot, lighting can make or break a scene. Is that something that you also believe? And then on top of that, are you involved in the lighting breakdowns most of the time, or sometimes you're just kind of given a lighting setup that you have to work with?
I think that like opens up a bigger conversation about like what is like the relevance of cinematography and like how important is it to storytelling. And like, I think every like DP will have a different opinion. And I think that I wouldn't be a DP if I didn't think it was somewhat important, like lighting that is somewhat important. But I use this analogy sometimes of like being a cinematographer is like being in a band, and you're not like the lead singer, you're like the drummer. Like you're keeping a rhythm, you're like keeping things on beat, but like you're not the center of attention, like you shouldn't be. And you might even get like a solo sometimes. You might even be able to like get like I don't know, like you get to go do a cool shot and like people are like, you know, stoked by that and whatever. But like it's not the center of attention. I don't think it should be. And like, you know, I think it's more important that you're like giving everyone the like, especially actors, like the room to like nail their performance. And that's, I think, much more important than like lighting, for example. I think whatever you're doing, like it just has to be supportive of like the story you're telling.
Shows like Euphoria are known for shooting film. And is that something you've done before? Because it's become really popular, but it's also not accessible as much because it's super expensive. And is it something that you also think is a bit overrated, or if it brings like a unique feel to a production?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's like undeniable that like film has like a unique quality for sure. Like I wouldn't ever argue otherwise. If the conversation is more like, can it be replicated closely with digital? I would say yes. Like that's where technology's headed. I even like the other day saw some like crazy new AI algorithms that are able to like replicate film stocks. And so like there is the technology that exists. I believe that the people that choose to shoot on film do it more from a place of like how it creates an environment on set and like what it does for the workflow and like people's energies on set. I think that digital filmmaking can be taken for granted a lot. When you press record, there isn't a lot of discipline behind when you choose to roll or not. Like it's kind of, you know, you can just go again, whatever, it's not a big deal. Whereas like film, I think when you understand like the limitations it has, that every time you press the record, it can cost you like, you know, $100 in developing and scanning and film stock. It's like, you know, that does create a different environment on set. So I do believe that for the right project, that's worth a lot.
So Percy Jackson and the Olympians series on Disney Plus is super popular. Everyone's been watching it. I haven't yet, but I've just heard that everyone's kind of been watching the series. So you did a promotional video for it. So how was it to take a long form series and then make a promotional video and still keep the like visuals and theme of it into something short form?
Yeah, I think the challenge with that one was like, yeah, just like understanding what the show's look was and then like really just trying to like do our best to replicate it. It was like a really quick one-day shoot in like the show's volume. And so we were working with like existing sets that they'd shot on and stuff. But I really just got on board to, do that kind of promo piece. And I had like a couple meetings with like the showrunner and then like one of the DPs, which was great, to kind of get an idea of like what they had done and like what we were trying to like basically replicate. And then, it really just came down to like, we had a pre-light day, like built out kind of like the look we wanted to do. I got like a really cool rundown of like the volume and how it worked. The VFX company on that was ILM, which was like obviously one of the biggest in the world. It was like the coolest thing to be a part of. So it just like kind of allowed me to, learn that technology and like get a bit of an in-depth idea of like how it all worked. Like it was a whirlwind. We shot in this volume with like 4 different sets that were kind of like pizza pied in this one volume set. So that had its challenges, but it was really for me just like understanding kind of like, what the show looked like, kind of understanding their camera package, their lensing, how they kind of approach things, and doing my best to make it feel a part of the same world.
I have a bit of a controversial question.
Oh, here we go.
People tend to argue a lot in the industry. Not argue, but there's mixed, opinions on it. So does the camera you film with make you a better cinematographer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't think it makes you a better DP. Like, sure, certain cameras will like maybe look better than others. You might get like, you know, something that looks a bit better right out of the gate. But I don't believe that like the camera you shoot on matters. I think what matters is making sure what you shoot on matches the approach you're taking. So for example, like if you're on a documentary and you're like, I'm gonna shoot this on 65mm film, that's gonna have some challenges. Like that's really gonna allow you to have the same like nimbleness and reactiveness that like shooting on like an FX6 might. And so I think it really comes down to like, yeah, again, understanding like certain cameras have certain challenges and certain cameras like allow you flexibility that others don't. So really what I think it really comes down to is choosing the right camera for what you're doing. Personally, I'd rather put more money on screen, whether it be in like production design or like getting that actor or like getting that location than, you know, spending like thousands of dollars more on like a set of lenses, you know.
So you worked for ABC's Big Sky season 1. Has that influenced your approach to filmmaking, and how was it going from working, let's say, on shorts or a documentary to now being on a big TV series?
Yeah, it was an incredible opportunity. I was a C camera operator on the series. The main unit DP just like was very, very kind to me and gave me the opportunity to shoot some of the second unit work, and then that blossomed into one of the episodes. I got to shoot probably like 75% of the main unit, which was huge. That job for me, the biggest lesson I got out of it was leaning into your crew's experience. Like I remember going on like tech surveys and being like, you know, definitely the youngest person there. Like my key grip and my gaffer were 30 years older than me. And that was really intimidating, like really, really intimidating. And I remember I felt like an insecurity around that. And a lot of the time I think for the first day of shooting, really, I was like, okay, I gotta like prove myself for being here. Like I gotta have all the answers. And after doing that first day of shooting, I realized like, that didn't go well. Like that was a lot more difficult than it could be. And so I remember like I drove home and I was thinking about it a lot. And I'm like, you know what, like these guys have been doing this forever. Like, why don't I just lean into their experience? Like, why don't I just ask a question? If I don't know how to get a result, I'll just ask them. And once I did that, it was like an epiphany. Like everything just went so much smoother. Like anytime there was like any sort of like challenge or like creative problem, like I just kind of would like go up to like my operator or like my gaffer key grip and be like, hey, like I need a little bit more in their eyes. Like, what do you think we should do? And they would just like offer like 10 great suggestions.
You won a Canadian Society of Cinematographers award. And a lot of the time when people do win awards like that, they see either a shift in their career, a boost in their ego. Is that something that you felt like either shifted your career or more so made you like more confident in your work? Or was it kind of like, oh, I deserve this because I've been doing this for so long?
No, I mean, like at that point, I think I've only been a DP for like seriously for like 6 years. So I don't think it was like, you know, a moment where I was like, I really deserved this or whatever. But I think what it did help with was like, it really helped me build confidence in myself. That was more than anything. Like, I don't think there was any like real big shifts in my career or anything else. Like maybe I got taken a little bit more seriously, but like, I don't know, I didn't really feel that as much. It was more like kind of helped muffle that like negative self-talk or like imposter syndrome that I think a lot of DPs like deal with.
A big point of the series here is that a lot of people, they just see the visuals or they watch a show, but they don't really know who these people are behind the camera that put a lot of time in, like yourself. So do you have any, you know, pros and cons of being a cinematographer that you could share with people who, either are just getting into it or are already in it that want to learn more?
Yeah, I think I grew up on YouTube. Like I'm a YouTube child. So like YouTube's a great resource, but I think the biggest thing I learned is like, you can't learn everything on YouTube. Like there's a lot of great knowledge on there, but like you need to get on set. Like you need to be in the real world working with real people. And the other one that I've actually like, I'm still learning is like people skills are actually a lot more important than technical skills, especially in cinematography. I'm actually like reading a management book right now because I'm trying to have a better idea of like how to communicate better with like crews and like find more efficient ways of like asking and managing people, because that's such a big part of the job. Is like understanding that there's people that are waiting for you to answer questions or for instruction, and like being able to like clearly communicate is like number one. And then also like, yeah, just like building charisma with people and the ability to network is super, super important as well, because that's where your work is going to come from. I think some of the other things, like, I don't think a lot of people think about is like, there's maybe some cons in the sense of like financials. Like, I had to really like learn the lesson of like being sustainable with my finances, because it is very inconsistent. Like, you can have a year that's like incredibly good, and then you can have a year that's like really slow. And so like really living below your means and like understanding like that, you know, money might come in for like 3 months straight, and you might be like, oh my goodness, I'm like got tons of money now and I'm chilling. But it's like, well, the next 6 months aren't promised. So like you might be like cooped. So yeah, having to be responsible with that sort of stuff. I think one of the things that I really like about being a DP is you get a lot of trust. And I think that can make a lot of people nervous. But for me, I really enjoy like rising to the challenge, because a lot of like directors or showrunners will like, you know, they really trust your skill set, and that's like a very special thing. And I think what it does for me is it like, yeah, really makes me want to like, you know, rise to that challenge and like knock their socks off, so to speak. Like it's yeah, it's kind of like a fun challenge every job.